Merkel Media.
What does the goddamn line say, Tony?
Please do not use gendered language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail?
Look, you're going completely sideways, man.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
I'm Chris Hansen with Dave on NBC.
Jack Marius Tack-Theratrix. Hi, I'm Spartacus.
Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guy.
I'm Keith Morris.
This is Muammar Gaddafi.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
We cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
And uncovering the centuries-long plan for world domination.
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
Let's talk about Chinese people.
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison? Swangles in Fort Lauderdale?
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow up the Sears hardware department.
Nothing could be more fun than jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so superior, aren't you?
Thank you, comrade.
And now, macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault.
He was a retard.
I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you are watching us on Rumble, Rockfin, Band.video, Vigilante.tv, or you are listening wherever podcasts are served, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We know you got a million choices out there. I got a new website if you want to go check it out, macroaggressions.io. The link to it is down in the show notes. Thank you to our sponsors. They make the show happen. It's the new year. Is it a new you? Oh, I don't know. Maybe. It's going to be up to you. If you want to get your health right, it's going to be a decision that you are going to have to make, not somebody else. But if you're looking for supplements that actually work, Chemical Free Body is the place to go for that. They're very upfront about what they make, how they make it, what they put in there. Tim James, the owner, is insane when it comes to his ingredients. That's a good thing. Must be frustrating for him to try and run a business when the FDA is switching labels up on you and all that good stuff. But he finds a way to survive through all of this. Go to chemicalfreebody.com. Take a look. Get that detox bundle. It's the second time I've gone through it. It's easy to do too. It's green 85 drink in the morning, like I do anyway. And then it's just a handful of capsules. It's gut detox, toxin detox, ultra enzymes, probiotics, and green 85. That's it. If you can't drink one of those green drinks and eat a handful of capsules in the morning, then I don't know what to tell you. But if you're serious about taking care of your health, flush it out. Do that detox flush and get everything out, and then see how you feel. I'll tell you, I had huge effects from it. Really, no kidding. Like almost lost 10% of my body weight. No shit. No exaggeration. And for someone that is lean already, I don't have weight to lose. The fact that I lost that much weight was scary. It wasn't intentional. And I'm not saying that you will have the same effect. How would I know? But I'm just telling you that's what happened to me. So it stands to reason that it could very well happen to you as well. So take a look. Go to chemicalfreebody.com. If you find something you like, the promo code is macro. Also, thanks to the folks over at EMP Shield that are building this great shielding device that will protect you from solar flares, lightning strikes, and also, yes, EMPs. If you happen to have an instance where that hits. Many times more efficient than a single-use military design. It can handle up to 40 EMP strikes. It'll work on your house. It'll work on your car. If you've got a boat or you got a motorhome, it'll work on those too. If you have a generator that you use that's sort of out in your back, you can put it on that as well. Keep your generator alive if something weird happens. So go to empshield.com, read up about it, watch the installation videos. You can install it yourself. It works like a Type 2 surge protector. It installs with just 4 wires. It's relatively easy to do that. And if you buy more than one, you get bundle prices. But Also, definitely use the promo code MACRO on your way out to save yourself a little bit of money. And I guess it's not too late. It's not too late to say, I'll see you in Mexico, maybe, hopefully. Better get yourself a ticket, get yourself an airline ticket, get yourself a hotel room down there as quick as you can. Anarchapulco is the largest anarchist conference in the world. It happens every year in Acapulco, Mexico in February. It'll be happening February 11th through the 16th, 2024. Acapulco, Mexico, at the Secret Garden. I will be the host and MC this year. It is my great pleasure and honor to be involved in it. Fourth time down there speaking. I leave that place always feeling extremely inspired. You'll meet the most interesting people in the world there. If you can't go, not all hope is lost because you can live stream it. So go to anarchapulco.com, take a look. They've got all kinds of options there for whatever you do. The discount code is MACRO. Save some money. Go ahead and do that for yourselves. And hopefully I'll see you in Mexico. If I do, if you're there and you came because you're listening to this show, find me. Find me. Come up and say, hey, what's up? I'm here because I listen to Macro and that's why I'm here. So I hope to see you all there. Well, for the last couple of years, really since the summer of love 2020, we've been making this comparison to the lunatics that are out in the street ranting and raving and holding up a fist for Black Lives Matter or burning down a Foot Locker for George Floyd or whatever the prevailing wisdom is, creating an autonomous zone in Seattle called Chaz and then changing it to Chop. I mean, the branding was bad. They were trying to grow tomatoes on top of cardboard with potting soil, empty pizza boxes with potting soil on it and tomato seeds embedded in. I mean, listen, it's funny. The whole thing was funny. I mean, it wasn't funny if your store got burned down, of course, but for the rest of us watching it, it's like a parade of dipshits. One idea is dumber than the previous idea, and you start to kind of look around. You go, boy, they are not sending their best and brightest to these riots, and as somebody that has an understanding of history, because I had to learn history in school, then unlearn everything I thought I knew, and then relearn a different version of history. And as somebody that is, I mean, I'm pretty sure if there's a black and white World War II documentary or documentary series, I've probably watched all of them. It's not to say that they're all 100% accurate or anything like that, but you see what's going on. And so I've said in the past, and I will say again in this episode, that part of the problem that these Antifa types, the BLM crowd that's out in the streets, the people that are mostly peaceful protesting, people that are standing for the climate or standing with Ukraine or standing because they're told to or whatever, these people don't know the full plan. That should be obvious to anybody that's paying attention. You never get the full plan. And you don't need the full plan. What you need is emotion. And what you need is to get people riled up and get them angry about something. And if you can do that, then you can direct that anger towards your enemies. Now, it doesn't even matter if the pretext for their anger is authentic or imagined for the purposes, but you just tell them that there's, first of all, you have to tell them that someone's coming to get them. That's really scary. There's somebody out there and they're going to get you unless you get them first, or unless you allow us, the government, to protect you from the outside force. It's always a pretty, simple concept. So the people out in the streets, they may think that they're protesting for goodness and for the right things and for fairness and for equality, and they want people to be treated well, and they want the environment to be healthy. And listen, I mean, I do too. I want people to be treated fairly and well, and I want the environment to be taken care of, and I don't want to see police arbitrarily killing black people. I don't want to see police arbitrarily killing anybody. I fucking despise the police. Okay, I mean, you're not going to find anybody that hates the police. Well, you like a couple people that hate the police more than me. But you're never going to see me talking about the thin blue line and I stand with cops and all that stuff because I don't. And I never will. They're authoritarian monsters that are one bounced paycheck away from switching sides anyway. So I'm not going to get on board with this like I'm on the side of the police and that these people shouldn't be out in the streets protesting or anything like that. Feel however you want to feel about the issues that you're faced with. But here is the requirement. And I think that this isn't asking too much. Maybe in this society it is. Before you get out in the streets, before you go to the mostly peaceful protest, before you burn everything down, your part in this equation is that you have to know what you're talking about. You have to know the whole story. And these people that are out in the streets, they don't. They don't know any of the story, let alone all of it. And I'm not going to say that I know every single component of the story either, because it's still unfolding and there's still a lot to be left to be seen. But I know enough to understand that these people are walking into a trap and that they're being used. Now, if you're going to use a group of people, it is imperative that they not know it. Of course, I think that should go without saying, but keep that in the back of your mind because the people that are protesting, the people that are all up in arms about all these things, they think they know what's going on because they are working off of the information that they are given. But the problem is they have compromised source material. It's not good information. It's information, but it's not good information. They are whipped up into a frenzy because the media tells them to hate a particular group or that this event happened and this is the way this event happened. Now, we know the mainstream media lies about everything. So you cannot just trust them when they say this event happened and this is how it happened, even if it's on camera. Actually, especially if it's on camera, because it can be manipulated, it can be cut out, it can be edited, it can be shot from an angle that doesn't show other components of it. It can be time stamped in a way that it cuts out everything leading up to it. And so it's out of context. And there's a lot going on. So don't believe your lying eyes in some cases when it comes to media narratives that are trying to force you into feeling a certain way. Now, if you get the sense that your corporate horror mainstream media is trying to make you angry about somebody or some group of people or some policy change or some presidential candidate or some war happening across the other side of the world, if they're trying to make you feel a certain way, that is on purpose. They want you to hate somebody or love somebody or be afraid of somebody or whatever. They're trying to manipulate your emotions. It's easy to do that when you have low IQ people that don't even know how to take care of their own emotions. They're poor at self-managing their own emotions. They need to be told what to do. They'll never admit to you they need to be told what to do, but we all know this. There's a very large segment of the population that needs to be told what to do. Otherwise they'll just mill around and not do anything. You need to tell them, hey, go over there and do that. Go do that thing. You need to do that. No. You're doing it right. Get over there and do that. Oh, okay. No, we're not doing this today. You're doing this. Get on it. They need to be told what to do. And some people do. So the government and the media tells them what to do. And they listen. And they comply. Because they're sheep. And they do what they're told. They're just, here comes the farmer to tell them what to do. So with that as the underlying psychology behind this, I think we need to understand that we are witnessing the creation of America's version of the German Brownshirts. And in order to examine the similarities, we first really need to understand what happened in Germany. We need to know what set the stage for the Brownshirts to come into existence in the first place in Germany, and what that time frame looked like, and what was going on, and how is it socially, and how is it economically, and how is it currency from a currency standpoint, and how is it politically, like who was in charge and who was, if you understand what the scenario was that justified the rise of the Brownshirts in Germany, you can then take a look at our current situation and go, do I see any similarities here? Like, is there anything that I'm looking at right now that's happening in our society that parallels this? The answer is yes. That's why we're doing the episode. The answer is most definitely yes. I'm going to get to that towards the end. But I think maybe the best place to start is to do a little bit of an examination into Germany, to what was going on there, and what the lead up was. And then from that point, we can yeah, I think the parallels will really kind of jump out at you. You know, once you understand what happened in Germany, then you can take a look at America in 2024 and see where we are on this timeline. If the timelines add up, and it's not to say that it has to be an identical timeline, but you'll see some major events happening in Germany that led to this. And boy, it feels like we're dusting off the playbook for 1939. And of course, what that means is that in 1939, World War II kicked off, and in 1933, Hitler officially rose to power. Now, I mean, everybody in the world is Adolf Hitler's the worst person in the world. Adolf Hitler Adolf Hitler did some horrible, horrible shit, period. Okay. Undeniable. All these leaders did. I mean, it's interesting that Hitler is held out as the bloodthirsty maniac when Mao killed like 4 times more people than Hitler, or what Stalin did, I mean, what they did and what Lenin did and what the Bolshevik Revolution, all the people that died there, all the people that starved to death in Ukraine, all the people that got murdered in Cambodia under Khmer Rouge and Pol Pot. He killed 25% of the population. 2 million out of 8 million people in Cambodia got killed. So, but Adolf Hitler is the poster child for the worst person in the world because he was bad, because he had the mustache, because they had the propaganda, because they clicked their boots, and because it was and because, listen, let's be honest, when you hear his speeches in German, everything sounds extra scary in German. Can we admit that? And there's no disrespect to my German audience out there, but like, you've heard the Tool song. There's a Tool song where they're it's like, it sounds, I think I've said this before, it sounds like a riot. It sounds like it's like the building of like a rally, and this guy is going on and on and on, in German, and it's revving up, and you can hear, and they put audience noise in the background, and it's like, like you can hear the audience cheering, and it's like, holy shit, like this guy gets revved up, and it sounds like Hitler, right? It's all in German. And then I asked my buddy who speaks German, what are they can you translate this for me? He's like, oh yeah, it's directions on how to bake a cake. And I was like, oh shit, well, everything in German sounds scary. So when you hear Adolf Hitler, everything sounds scary. Corey Hughes, I mentioned him before. Corey Hughes has pointed out something that I never even noticed before. He goes, do you know why they never subtitle Adolf Hitler's speeches? And I was like, no, why? You're right. I never see them subtitled. Why is it and he goes, because if you read what he was saying, you'd agree with a lot of it. I was like, oh shit. So I'm not trying to say I agree with Hitler. I'm not trying to say Hitler was right, but it was an interesting component that Corey said, that like, if you read the English translations to what he's talking about, a lot of it is very logical. I'm not talking about the roundings up of people. I'm talking about like what he was discussing with, like, they destroyed our economy after World War I. All of the financial limitations that were put on us had put us in a situation where, what do you expect? We're going to have to rise up and take back our country and all these things. We're going to have to make Germany great again, right? So all these ideas and all these concepts that Hitler was talking about in these speeches, a lot of them are relevant to current day America, the buildup to this. And so when I say that, that we've got a version of like an American version of Germany's Brownshirts, like, part of the reason why is that the atmosphere that led up to the Third Reich is happening here. And so let's look back in the last 100 years or so, to see the founding of the German Brownshirts, otherwise known as the SA, Sturmlingen Storm Division Stormtroopers. It's basically the German, I do not speak German in case you were wondering, but the translation of the SA into English is basically Storm Division. These are the stormtroopers. Hello, Star Wars, right? And they were formed in 1921. Now, an interesting thing happened in 1921, and that is that Germany was going through a really hard financial time. Economic uncertainty was everywhere. There was cultural degeneracy that was happening in Germany after World War I had wrapped up. They put these massive reparation payments and sanctions on the German economy. It was creating a lot of misery. And out of that misery, cultural degeneracy was springing up. Might have been planted there by others, but it was happening in Germany, and it was wrecking the culture. And also, maybe most importantly, it was the beginning of the currency hyperinflation. You know about the wheelbarrows of Deutschmarks in order to go down, and buy whatever. Well, the currency hyperinflation started in 1921 and 1922. It got worse. And 1923, it's the hockey stick chart where it just goes straight up. So and of course, the bankers caused this. This isn't like an act of God. They didn't get hit by a solar flare. These are central bankers doing all this stuff. This is made to happen. Wealthy industrialists that financed World War I, financed World War II, created the justification and the pretext for World War II to even come out of this. Was definitely behind this, and they are. This economic uncertainty, cultural degeneracy, and currency hyperinflation was the foundation of Hitler's rise to power. And you know how they say, they talk about the wheelbarrow full of money. I want to put this in perspective for you. Now, I said the hyperinflation started in 1921. And in 1922, it got even worse than it was in 1921. But in 1922, if you went to buy a loaf of bread, it would cost you 160 Deutschmarks. 1922, loaf of bread, 160 Deutschmarks. If it helps to put it in dollars, go ahead and put it in dollars already. And just envision that in 1921, this hyperinflation started taking off, and it was so bad that by 1922, it cost you 160, let's just say dollars, even though it's not apples to, like $160 for a loaf of bread. Already too much money to pay for the loaf of bread, but that's hyperinflation. Maybe your wages keep up with it. I don't know, but whatever. 160 Deutschmarks in 1922 to buy a loaf of bread. Do you know how many Deutschmarks you needed to take to your bakery to buy a loaf of bread just 1 year later in 1923? From 160 to 200 billion Deutschmarks to buy one loaf of bread. 200 billion. So when they talk to you about the wheelbarrows, they're not kidding. And when they talk to you about the money being completely worthless, this is what we're looking at. And hello, US dollar. Hello, Federal Reserve. Get your money out of the banks. Again, I feel like a broken record on saying this, but you will thank me one day for advising you, for pleading with you, for fucking begging you to reevaluate the relationship that you have currently with your bank. It does not serve you anymore. Your money is not safe there. Your money in the form of Federal Reserve notes is not safe anywhere. You may very well be spending $200 billion. Here's the good news. You'll be a billionaire. Here's the bad news. It'll cost you $200 billion to get a loaf of bread. So anyway, let's move on. How did Hitler use the SA? Well, it started in 1921. Okay, so this group came out of, and mind you, Hitler didn't come to power till 33. So you're talking about, he was there, he was a player, he was in it, he was, but this was, he wasn't running the country when they started. But what the SA did was they provided protection at Nazi rallies. And I'm not, and by the way, when I say they started in 1921, I don't mean that this happened all in 1921, but it was the foundation. I mean, it grew and it grew and it grew, and it gathered some people. And once you got to once you got to the 1930s, when Hitler did come to power, then by that time, the SA was a huge operation. But the thing, my point of it all is that this group didn't exist before the currency collapse. Okay. This group didn't exist before hyperinflation. When you mess with the currency, when you mess with the economy, you put people in a bad spot. And when you put people in a bad spot, they want things to change, and they can't change them individually. So what they do is they click up into big groups and say, well, maybe you won't change for me, but maybe you will make the changes for this big group. And as things started to get worse and worse and worse, the SA got bigger and bigger and bigger, in part because everyone was in this bad spot and they were joining forces together. So they would provide protection at Nazi rallies. They would disrupt meetings of the opposition party. This is all going to sound very familiar. And it was mostly unemployed people. It was people that were going through financial hardships because of what was going on. They were easily whipped into an ideological frenzy. They were, that you could tell them, like, those people over there hate you. Those people are coming. Those people did this to you, and you could get them all whipped up. Listen, if you're broke and you're stupid and you're angry, you can get manipulated. I mean, you're just in a prime position for manipulation. And of course, that's what happened here. So again, you could start this movement out of an authentic reason for coming together. The government sucks. We just got these massive sanctions put on us after World War I. There's no economy in Germany. There's no military in Germany. We feel totally defenseless. We're coming together. I almost can't even blame the SA for forming. The problem is what they did once they formed, and that was they had a horrible reputation. They were absolutely despised by the people. They're Antifa. They're Antifa if Antifa were more organized, They might be Antifa in 10 years. But this was the word on the street was that we're in a bad situation and these guys in the SA are bad guys, and they come around and they claim that they're going to make the situation better, but they only make the situation worse. And by 1932, so now we're 11 years into the formation of the SA, there were by 1932 there were 400,000 of them. Okay, there's quite a few, and the reason why they got their name, the Brownshirts, was because they had like leftover uniforms from some military campaign in like North Africa. Not this is pre-World War II, but it was some other campaign that was going on in North Africa. Anyway, they had tan shirts. They had a lot of extra tan shirts. They didn't have anything else. So they gave all these guys, they said, well, you guys are going to wear all these brown uniforms. And then that's kind of how they became known as the Brownshirts. So over the 11 years of them plodding along, creating conflicts, going to opposition parties. And in Germany, there wasn't just, it's not like Republicans versus Democrats where there's two parties. There are multiple parties, and small fringe ones that were coming up in the absence of a real established, well-respected government. You saw these other political parties kind of sprout out of nowhere, including the National Socialist Party, which became the Nazis. So all of these groups that were sprouting out, the Brownshirts would go over and burn down their clubhouse or destroy their town or threaten their guys or take a bunch of the leaders of something, go hang them off light poles or whatever. They were just fuckers, and they were destroyers. They weren't out there. There was no negotiating. They were just like a mob, human piranhas that you could just sick on a particular group, and they would destabilize it to the point where so that group was no longer relevant or spent their resources fighting the SA and not, managing their political aspirations properly or whatever. So you get to 1932. 1933, Hitler takes over. He is made Chancellor of Germany, and he is now officially in charge. By 1933, that number jumps from 400,000 brown shirts to 3 million in 1 year. Okay, that is a bit crazy. For an 8 times return on your army, your private army, that's going to be, that's going to get on the radar. for comparison's sake, the German army proper only had 100,000 members. So when you've got the SA, which is coming in at 30 times bigger than the German army itself, even the army was nervous about them. I mean, the army was like, we're professional soldiers. We're out here to defend the homeland. And these people are not professional soldiers. They're just chaos agents. So Hitler takes over in 1933, but he had been plotting this and planning this for this eventuality since 1925, when the SS was formed, the Schutzstaffel. It was a bodyguard detail that Hitler used as he was running, when he was involved in politics. He knew what the SA was. He was, he was using them to go disrupt other political groups. But in order to make sure that he wasn't disrupted by his own sort of force, the SA, the Brownshirts, he created a bodyguard unit, which is not an unreasonable thing to do. If you think of I make these Hitler-Trump comparisons, but like when Trump took over and they're like, oh, we've got the Secret Service for you. And he was like, yeah, well, I've also got some of my private guys that I trust a little bit more than the Secret Service. I'm not getting in an open-air car and driving around Daily Plaza, if you know what I mean, with you guys here. So Hitler didn't trust, it just, as we know from looking back on Hitler, paranoid, clearly, hopped up on speed, of course, and also in some respects a realist. He understood, I better have a bodyguard unit if this isn't, if I want to keep myself in power. Well, here's the thing though. This bodyguard detail unit that he put together grew like a cancer. And this was the SS. And so as the Brownshirts were growing like crazy, the SS was growing as well, but it was more on the down low. They weren't out there doing much of anything except sort of showing their allegiance and loyalty to Adolf Hitler and becoming part of his inner circle and proving themselves, proving that they will take care of him if, and they will defend him against all of these people. So, but there is an ideological difference between the SS and the SA. And, if we were to oversimplify things here, because I realize that there's a whole lot that goes into how these wars start, but the Brownshirts thought that the priority should be, when Hitler came to power in 1933, they thought that the priority should be social safety net things. They were like socialists that thought like, hey, this country's been through hell. When Hitler comes to power, the very first thing we need to do is take care of the country and the social components of it, and make sure that everybody is, I'm not going to say these guys were nice, but they wanted their group, of course, taken care of, but they wanted the focus to be on the elevation of the German less thans, and the SS and Adolf Hitler really kind of saw things differently. The Nazi Party was of the opinion that Germany should focus on the wars and the military side of things first. So SA says take care of all of the social components first. The Nazi Party says there's no sense taking care of the social components first until we defend our borders, build up this military, and then start kicking some ass. Once we kick some ass, once we're able to show the rest of the neighboring countries that we are not to be fucked with anymore, and that you can't do what you've been doing to us then we'll take care of our social problems. And the Brownshirts were like, you're doing it wrong. Would you like to know how this was sorted out? Well, it was very bloody. And it was so scandalous that they even gave it an unforgettable name. Have you heard of Night of the Long Knives? You should, because it happened in 1934. Again, about a year after Hitler came to power. Estimates are that 700 leaders of the SA were executed by the SS under orders from Hitler. thanks for your service. You're no longer needed here. This was done to consolidate power. It was done to decapitate the SA entire leadership structure and to put it under Nazi control, meaning the bottom of the totem pole. And the SA, even though they had their 3 million troops, the SS was not interested in them. They didn't say, oh, great, well, we'll just convert them all into SS and we'll be fine. They said, no, you people are fucking awful. We don't like you. The people don't like you. You are now going to be merged under our control, but we're just going to do nothing with you. We're going to take a bunch of you and put you up against the wall immediately and shoot you, because this is what the current batch of American brown shirts don't understand. This is what Yuri Bezmenov talked about at great length. You know, what they don't understand is that they will be put up against the wall. And the reason why they don't understand that is because they don't see the big picture here. You see, when you're coming to power against the existing power, you need a group that can destabilize the existing power. That's what the brown shirts were. You go in there and have them cause problems so that the existing power structure has to deal with 100 different issues all at once, and they can't manage everything. And then you come right through the front door and destroy them after they're focused on all this other stuff. So that's sort of the concept of having these disruptors early on when you're trying to overthrow the current government. But when you do that and you are successful and then you become the current government, those disruptors are the last thing you want. So that's why Yuri says they go up against the wall and get shot immediately. That's what happens in Germany. That's what happens everywhere that this tactic is done. That's what happens. When I say that the Antifa groups, and it's not limited to them, of course, but you know, the out in the street groups that are trying to start trouble and chaos and everything, they think they're freedom fighters. They think that they're working on behalf of a group that is going to reward their loyalty at some point in the future. They are wrong. They are mistaken. They haven't read the entire script. They don't know how the story ends. That's why they get put up against the wall, because they don't know that they're unnecessary. They don't know that they have gone, from an accounting standpoint, from an asset to a liability. Because you're an asset when you disrupt the establishment, but once you become the establishment, then you're just a gigantic problem, and you're not good at anything. It'd be one thing if they were like, well, we could repurpose these people and put them through the military and have them come out and tap their, click their heels and salute and do all that. These aren't the click your heels salute type of people. That's the reason why they're disruptors. They're shitheads. They're dummies. They're low IQ morons. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but they're not military grade. So that's why when the SS and the Nazi Party, or the Nazi Party, I should say, it incorporates the SA into their group, they didn't do so at some sort of like out of respect, out of mutual admiration. They said, you guys are the fucking worst. You go to the bottom of the barrel. You're quite literally lucky that we don't kill all of you, because if it were up to us, we would. But we're going to use you to the extent that we can. And if you guys, you German brown shirts who are our people, if you guys drop dead during all of this stuff, then so be it. Who cares? You were unnecessary anyway. So after you go through all of this stuff, you find that, the German army approved of this. Night of the Long Knives, the German army that was sitting there with 100,000 people looking at the 300 or the 3 million person army, they're going, yeah, get rid of these people, because these people are just about to turn on us too. So the German army was fine with what the SS did, and they were fine with what Hitler did. And of course, you better be, because you report to Adolf Hitler. And if you're not fine with what he's doing, then you're next, So, but they didn't have to worry about that, because they were ideologically aligned with the Nazi Party, with the SS, with Adolf Hitler. They all felt the same way everyone felt about the brown shirts. They're horrible, despicable pieces of garbage, and and the sooner we get to eliminating them, the better off we'll all be. Now that we're in power, we needed them in the 20s. We don't need them in the 30s, right? So, so the SA were utterly despised by the German people, and the Germans weren't losing any sleep watching them get turned into cannon fodder or getting shot and put in mass graves or whatever. When the war kicked off for real in 1939, and the SA was torn apart, there weren't too many average Germans that were shedding tears for that. Also, interesting to know, because I will tell you right now that even though I don't know how the American script is going to end, I can tell you that there will be one scene in this movie that will repeat from what happened in Germany to what will happen in future America. Is that after they murdered all of the SA leaders, they then accused them of two things, which of course they were not there to defend themselves against. One was real and one might not have been real, but it was used to discredit them. The first was that they accused all of the leaders of the SA of plotting to overthrow the government. Now, that probably was true. The SA probably was plotting to overthrow the government. Hell, when you've got 3 million people sitting around waiting for something to do, maybe you think you can overthrow the government. But that didn't happen because they took the 700 leaders out, estimated 700 leaders, might have been more, might have been a little bit less. But they took them out over the course of a weekend and shot them all. But the second thing that they did after these 700 leaders were all dead was that they accused them all of being homosexuals, which was really funny. Being a homosexual in Germany in the 1930s, my assumption is that it probably wasn't well accepted, definitely happened, but probably wasn't celebrated. It certainly wasn't stunning and brave. But it's funny that afterwards they're like, those people were plotting to overthrow the government. And they were a bunch of fags too. And everyone's like, oh, gross. Let's go. Yeah, good thing we got them. It's I don't know, different type. Get ready, Antifa. And most of Antifa is already underarming their Molotov cocktails because they are a sizable percentage of Antifa's homosexuals. Not that there's anything wrong with being gay, but I was just saying, whether you are or are not, once you're taken care of, just know that history will remember you as the alphabet mafia that took over and started riots and everything, and that they were all gay and probably trans, and they'll probably throw some other, I don't know, denigrations on them in the future as well. Remember, history is written by the victors. So whoever wins this skirmish is going to write about these people however they want. So if you think you're stunning and brave, just wait till the history books get a hold of you. But let's do this. Let's move to Planet Earth 2024, and let's talk about what's really going on here. And so now we've heard kind of what happened in Germany, economic uncertainty, social unrest, the banks were a mess, the army had their hands tied after the Treaty of Versailles and all of these things. So like we had major problems. We had issues where social unrest leads to, in some cases, just chaos militarily. And that, of course, is what happened in World War II. And this is not meant to be like a full breakdown of World War II in any way. I mean, like I said, the documentary series are like multi-part, so I can't take care of World War II in 1 hour. But I say this only because I think it's important that you understand where society was in terms of Germany back in that time, that created the atmosphere in which a group like the Brownshirts could collect 3 million people and did rise to a form of power and were used by the bankers and the powers that be to create the chaos that they needed. And then once they were no longer of use, they were disposed of. So I say that only because you're going to find a lot of similarities here. I mean, every weekend there's a rally or a march for this or that out here in the United States, but though it's not limited to the United States, we see the farmers in Western Europe. We see people protesting in London and marching for Palestine or for this or that or against COVID shots or against lockdowns or whatever. So people are out there marching, and I'm not even saying that they're not marching for the right things. You know, I mean, like there's genuine frustration with the direction that things are going. The truth is that the topic of disagreement isn't always that important. The most important thing is creating any disagreement, creating division. Who cares really what it's about so much is that as long as you've got two groups fighting with each other. We know the divide and conquer tactic. If you're a government that is run by psychopathic criminals and you get the feeling that the people are onto you, you are the few, they are the many. What you want to do is you want to get the many fighting with each other, get them divided into smaller and smaller groups and get them fighting with each other. Certainly not coming together to realize that the problem is you in government, right? That's the last thing you want to have happen. So you need these distractions and you need these fights. And you need all of that, not because you want people to actually be mad about the things that you want them to be mad about. You just want them to be mad about something, and you want to make sure that they think that the other guy is trying to take that something from them or make them do something that they don't want to do. Or in the case of where we are in modern times, you know, you're killing the planet with your carbon dioxide, or you're killing us by not taking the experimental gene therapy, or you're killing grandma and I hate you because of that, or whatever it is. Pick the polarizing topic. You stand with Israel and I stand with the Palestinians or whatever. If you can get people fighting and into smaller groups, that's really helpful. So we've got a climate change grift, and we've got the protests. The climate change protest feels like a circuit, right? You feel like you're like, oh, are you going to the climate change protest in Hungary? Yeah, I'll be there. I'll see you there. And then after that, I'll see you at the one in Rome. And then I'll see you at the one in New York, and you're just like, you think it all feels very manufactured. It all feels like it's made to happen, because it is. And so when you've got the social uncertainty, and we certainly have that, like we had in the 1920s in Germany. You've got protests against, you've got carbon dioxide meat protests, right? Like, you're generating too much carbon dioxide. We have to kill all these cows. And you're like, well, then what are we going to eat? Like, this is stupid. We're not, so you see that happen. You see the vegan protest. You see the BLM. Of course, we mentioned that. We see the alphabet mafia protests are out there. They want a new flag or something, whatever fucking grievance they have today that nobody cares about. Nobody's like, we're going to change our flag. We're going to add an extra plus. Like, no, you should add to your LGBTQ plus, blah, blah. You should add the division sign, because that's what you're actually doing. You're dividing people. It should be LGBT division sign. Q. Don't forget the Q. We got to put the Q's in there. Oh God. And we've got Patriot Front, whatever flavor you're into. This isn't all lefty stuff. We've got Patriot Front, which is feds in matching uniforms getting out of the back of U-Haul trucks, definitely not organized and coordinated by the feds. Hey guys, not to really give you any sort of tips, but I mean, just so you know, if you look around and find the average looking Americans don't look like they know how to march in formation. They don't look physically fit like all the Patriot Front guys. I mean, geez, if I didn't know any better, I'd think that they were straight out of Langley or someplace like that. Would make me a conspiracy theorist to think that Patriot Front were a bunch of feds. Of course they're feds. Of course they're feds. Fed adjacent, whatever you want to call it. Maybe they don't actually go to work for the FBI, but they're being made to be there by the government. White nationalists, we've talked about the supply demand imbalance on white nationalism. They say it is the number one threat. Joe Biden's administration, Alexander Mayorkas, these people have said that Anthony Blinken, the number one threat in America is white nationalism and domestic terrorism. It's not. I am grateful to report to you that white nationalism and domestic terrorism fuck, I wish it were the most important thing going on right now. Because if it were, then I wouldn't be worried about the other actual important things. I'm not worried about white nationalism. It's not because I look like I could be a part of their group either, but thank you for asking. Haircut and everything. But it's pretty obvious that like groups like Patriot Front aren't what they seem. You've got the statue removal people. Those people are awful. You've got the people that throw paint in the art gallery people. Those are climate. I don't know. They're usually climate people. They always look like they are coming off of a fast or something, like where they haven't eaten in a long time. They look very sickly, and they glue themselves to the floor of a Porsche dealership in Germany or or they glue themselves to the gluers. We can call them the gluers, the people that glue themselves to the tarmac at airports or to the freeways. Whatever. At some point, you will see one of the gluers get run over by a semi. That will be on purpose, right? So, and then of course, there is the digital standing army, right? Not just the people that glue themselves or get out there with their pride flags or their BLM fist flags or whatever they're marching, or they're those people that are doing it in person. There's that, but then there is this other component, infinitely larger than the get out there and do it, in person crowd. And that's the digital standing army. This is the Ukraine flags in your Twitter bio, Israel flags, mask emojis, injection emojis, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, all that stuff. The BLM people, the pronoun people, the wokeism, the white guilt crowd. The white guilt crowd is a trip, man. Boy, they're going to study those people in textbooks for a while. We will collectively refer to these people as the digital brown shirts. Okay, not deep thinkers, might not even be human. The vast majority of them bots pretending to be a certain way. This is left wing and right wing too. There's a lot of people, we got fucking staying with Trump, man. And it's in the profile picture is a picture of a guy wearing a hat and sunglasses, and he's taking the picture inside the driver's seat of his car. You've seen that picture, right? Where there's like 80 million people that have taken the exact same picture. They all look the same. There's like a guy, he's got the beard, he's got the sunglasses, he's got a camouflage hat or a Bass Pro Shop hat, and he's taking the picture while he's in the car driving. For some reason, that's the place to take. I don't know what's going on. But these groups are being created. And it is you can have them go and burn down the flower shop physically, like they did in Germany, or like they did in the Summer of Love, or you can have them digitally do it. And that's kind of where we've evolved to with this. So there's a component of that we would just describe as digital brown shirts. I don't know how else, but there's no better name for them than that. So these are sort of the people that are out angry about things. There's more, but this is a fairly good group just to sort of focus on. It's these people are essentially free labor for the establishment. They don't know that. They haven't connected that dot. They think that they're having these ideas independent of some, manipulation going on. They're not. These people would never even know about carbon dioxide in the atmosphere if they hadn't been watching CNN and MSNBC and Fox News and BBC and whatever over the last, 10 years. They've got all this stuff programmed into their head. So now they think that they're out there saving the world from climate change. One of the things that you'll notice with these groups is that their views mostly line up with the mainstream narrative, because mainstream narrative has been agreed upon. And, these people don't really ask too many questions. So it's like, of course we have to stand with BLM. It's like, do you know who financed BLM? Do you know what BLM did with the money? You know what they didn't do with the money? Do you know who the founders are? Do you know that they're trained cultural Marxists? Like, all the details get lost, right? So they don't know anything. When you ask them one simple question, like, you're bashing fascism. Can I ask you a question? Define fascism for me. And they're like, well, Donald Trump. You're like, no. I'm looking for a definition. What is fascism? It is crickets, right? They don't know. They don't know anything. They only know they're angry, and they only know that they're supposed to be angry at this group. So they go out there and they get angry. These are very effective people to have. They're totally and utterly worthless for anything else, but they're essentially cheap labor by the cult. So, and they're relatively dumb. Okay. They think they're angry. So they're passionate, but the passion is conflated, gets conflated for intelligence. They're not intelligent. They don't understand the ins and outs of this. They're not playing 3D chess. I assure you, they're playing Chinese checkers and they're getting beat badly, but they don't understand any of this. And this was a lot like what the Bolsheviks, what happened with the Bolsheviks, right? They pull all the peasant farmers out. This would happen with the Chinese. You pull all the peasant farmers out and move them to the city. Well, they're not city people, or they don't know how to run the factories. So, and they don't know how to feel. You have to, most of them are illiterate in the fields, right? So you have to keep it short and sweet and simple. A lot of, dumb down the message. Keep it simple. Posters, stand, comrade, like collectivism, and there's like a fist, and then there's like you show like the shovels or the whatever. So the pitchforks, and you go, oh, I get this. This is about a farmer revolution. Yay. And the state and and you show all the symbolism and everything. You boil down the message to as simple and as short of a message as you can get, and then you bombard them with it. That's what they did during the Bolshevik Revolution. They're doing it today. Do you know what it's called today? It's called TikTok. It's the same thing. It's just a digital version of it. Short attention span, don't know too much about anything, come right this way. Have we got a message for you, right? So the similarities between Germany in 1920s and USA in 2020s are pretty overwhelming, right? So these groups are being used to destabilize society, and the framework needed to make this legal has already been installed. They've already built the framework, the mechanisms behind the scenes to make this destabilization legal. And you will know what I am talking about in this current incarnation of the American Brownshirts, because all you have to do is look at all of the district attorneys that George Soros has financed that legalized criminality inside the United States. No bail, no arrests in San Francisco for anything $950 or less. No police prosecution. We're letting people out of prisons. We're not, COVID came. We go, oh, we have to let people out. Oh, you're going to let all the nonviolent people out? Well, not really. We'll just let random people out. So no arrests happening. A guy gets arrested 11 times for shoplifting, and he's out within, he's out by the end of the day every single time. There's no repercussions for this. They've legalized it. They've legalized destabilization. And you have to do that because you have to allow these people the opportunity to commit crimes, look around, realize nobody's coming to get me for this. Maybe I don't have to hide. Maybe I don't have to hide my criminality. And then over time, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you start to figure out not only are they not going to arrest me for shoplifting, what if we go in with a group of 100 of us and we run into a Macy's and we take everything that isn't nailed down and we just run out and can we do that? Yes, of course you can do that. That's why the Westfield Mall in San Francisco is going out of business. So you can do all of this. You can create the BLM situation. You can create the Summer of Love. You can create the Black Revolution. You go out and find, who did they find for these revolutions? Mostly unemployed people, fringes of society, bad reputations, Antifa, BLM protest, mostly peaceful protests with a fire burning behind the guy on CNN. All of this stuff is exactly what you would do if you were creating an army of brownshirts to destabilize the country from the inside so that radical change can come. We just haven't gotten to that part in the script yet. But the smaller, more dangerous, the German army, if you remember them, how they only had 100,000 people, well, they're in the same place as the United States military right now. where they don't have the manpower. You got 100,000 people in the German army as they're looking at the SA going, there's 3 million of them. Well, what do you think the United States military is doing? You've got less than 75% of people, just about 3 out of every 4 people that are eligible, that could join the military or possibilities eligibility wise to join the military. They can't pass the requirements, the education requirements. They can't pass the physical fitness requirements. They're either on drugs, they have a criminal record, they're ineligible. So the United States military is looking a lot like the German army, in the early 20s, going, we're really outnumbered here. We're going to need to do something, because if we're not careful, listen, like from 1932 to 1933, the size of the SA went from 400,000 to 3 million. Like that's 8 times the population in just 12 months. That is unsustainable growth. Like, you have to ask yourself, like, where did you get all those people? If you wanted to grow this weird destabilization crew and get it from 400,000 to 3 million people, boy, I don't know. It would take a lot of work. You would have to find a way to grow that group very quickly and almost overnight. I mean, boy, if I didn't know any better, I'd ask the question, is the United States building an immigrant SA army? Hey, can we have that conversation yet? Because the current American military is one of active personnel, 1,328,000 people. 1.3 million. There are 800,000 reserves sitting there. Add those two together, you're just a little bit over 2 million. Let's talk about the elephant in the southern border room. 7 million people have come into just in the last 3 years. Let's do some math on this. If you want to match the size of our active military, all you would need is 20% of the people that have come across into Joe Biden's America over the last 3 years. All you would need, just 20%, 1 out of 5. If you could convince 1 out of 5 to join your group, you now have an army that is the exact same size as the United States Army. Military, I should say, as opposed to just the branch, the Army. The United States military. Now, again, how many of those are playing hopscotch in Germany, or doing nothing in Guam, or stationed in South Korea, or wherever? I'm not even saying that the 1.328 million active personnel military are even in the United States. I don't know what the number is of how many of them are stationed overseas, but it's got to be at least 30%, I would think. So if you just took 20% of the people that have come into the United States over the last couple of years and convinced them that they were going to be part of a new Brownshirts, you'd already equal the size of the army. If you convince 30% of them, 3 out of 10, that'd be enough to cover the military reserves as well. If you took that 7 million number and you bumped it up to 40%, 4 out of 10 military age fighting men. We keep hearing that term, military age fighting men. Why are we hearing that? It's a very specific term. We don't talk. You'd think they'd talk about the women and children that are coming, because if you talk about the women and children that are coming from the southern border, you at least get sympathy. You say, oh, that's terrible. They're looking for a better life, right? We don't hear that. We see it a little bit. Only to the extent that we hear, oh, the women are all getting raped and the children are getting trafficked. That's bad. But we keep hearing military-aged men. If you convinced 4 out of every 10 that came across the border to be a part of this, you would have a group the size of the SA in 1933. You would be at 3 million, just a little bit under. It's put in perspective. It was only 5% of those people. You only needed 5% of those people in 1932 to join the SA. 5%, that's 1 out of 20. Do you think that you could convince 1 out of every 20 people coming across the border to join your little Brownshirts group? You probably could if you paid them, because what did I say the common denominator was for all of these people that were in Germany that were joining this? They were out of work, unemployed, had no, their resume was lacking, right? The economy was in shambles anyway. The military was disjointed. They came in, they found purpose, and they got paid. Somebody paid them. So I asked the question, is Joe Biden not, let me rephrase that because we know he's not doing anything. Are the people behind Joe Biden, which is more than likely Obama, third term for Obama, definitely trilateral commission, a lot of global government people involved in this. Are they creating the new brown shirts for America? It's a reasonable question. In fact, I really challenge you to explain what they're doing otherwise. I'm open to it. I want to be convinced that this isn't happening. I really would like for people to say, no. The reason why the 7 million people are here is because we're underserved in this category. And that, I'm looking for an economic answer. I'm looking for a social answer. I'm looking for any sort of answer that isn't military. Please tell me why these people are. I know they're being made to come here. We understand that. And it's not, and to be crystal clear, I say they're coming up from Mexico. I'm not trying to say they're Mexicans. Some of them are, of course, we know that, but I'm not trying to put this on I'm not saying everybody's leaving Mexico. Mexico's cool. Mexico's a great place. It's a little disjointed in places, but Mexico's a beautiful place. And the people are really not, I don't know, man. I get along with Mexicans. And being in Southern California, I grew up around them. Like I got no issue with them. In fact, if we're being totally honest, the first generation groups that come from Mexico to the United States work their asses off. There is no harder working group than them. Okay. From working in real estate and being on those construction sites in the new home industry for the decade that I was there, everybody that worked there was Mexican and they busted their ass, right? So I got no issues with them. This is not a Mexico issue. I'll tell you how 24,000 Chinese citizens were apprehended just in 2023. Okay. 472,000 Venezuelans now have temporary protected status. Really? Why? Why are we in a huge hurry to import 500,000 Venezuelans? I understand why Venezuela is in a hurry to empty their insane asylums and prisons and send them to the U.S. border and say, have a good life in America. I fully understand that. Frankly, I respect the fuck out of it too. If I had caught a bunch of Navy SEALs trying to regime change my country, and then I had the opportunity to empty to get a 2-for-1, empty my prisons, empty my nut houses, and send them all to my sworn enemy that just tried to destabilize my government and kill my president, yeah, I'd do the same thing. I don't blame them for that at all. It's not their problem anymore. It's our problem. So the question is, why is it being allowed to happen? Why are we giving them temporary protected status? So I want to talk to you about the numbers of people that have come in. These are official numbers from the department, or from the it's not the American government. It's a group that watches the American government. You can never trust the American government's numbers. But these are the numbers that they have given us in terms of the number of people that have crossed over into America on a year-by-year basis. And some of and the numbers are very specific, which makes me think they're accurate. But if I were making fake numbers, I'd make them very unusual like this too, if I was trying to lie. But so 2021, 1,734,686. See what I mean? It's like a very specific number. But I don't need to get into it. 1.7 million. I'm going to round up or down. 2022, the following year, roughly 2.4 million people came in. That's 200,000 every month for the year. Okay. 2023, the year we just wrapped up, just about 2.5 million people came through. And so far, 2024, which according to this accounting, the way their accounting was a little wonky, so it counted December and November and January. And I don't know how they have the January numbers, but it was just about 500,000. Okay. So my point is it's getting worse. It's at about 200,000 people a month coming through, 50,000 a week coming through. That's a lot. That's a lot. So we understand the personnel component of the America's brown shirt. If this is in fact where they are growing this group, it would explain it. This is how you could take a number from 400,000 to 3 million over the course of a year, like the Brownshirts did from 32 to 33. You'd have to have in-migration. You'd have to, in this particular case with America, in order to get these numbers up, especially given the proportion of the size of our population compared to the size of the German population. I mean, they had 3 million SA members with a population that's like a quarter of ours. So in actuality, if we wanted to be proportionate about this, we might have to have 10 million to make these numbers sort of match up. But regardless, it's just thought experiment here. We're sort of working our way through this. So we've got the personnel component figured out. We've got a lot of people. But if they're just standing around and they don't have anything to get you with, then how afraid are you going to be? Well, do you remember 2013, 10 years ago? The Department of Homeland Security started doing something very unusual in 2013. It wasn't necessarily unusual that the Department of Homeland Security would be doing this. It's just that the scale in which they were doing it was alarming, and that is they started buying bullets. Do you remember that? Do you remember when they made the announcement that the Department of Homeland Security bought 1.6 billion bullets during the course of 2013 to 2018? Do you remember that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, bought 450 million rounds of ammunition? They bought 200 million rifle rounds. Do you know that the Social Security Office bought 174,000 hollow point bullets? Social Security Office, give me my check. I'm 70. I need my monthly check that I paid into. Why are you buying 174,000 hollow point bullets? Look, I'm really, really not trying to freak people out. I'm just mentioning that there are a variety of dots out there that might connect to one another. This didn't mean anything to you in 2013, except it's very weird. It's very unusual. I don't get a warm, fuzzy feeling, but I don't really understand. I don't see a plan yet. Do you see a plan now? Do you understand that this could very well have been the plan all along? I want to put it in context. When you 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition, that sounds like a lot, but there are a lot of people in the military, and they have target practice, and they have there's wars and everything. What do these numbers mean? Okay, so for context purposes, during the height of the Iraq War, our troops were using about 6 million bullets a month. 6 million bullets a month. We could extrapolate out and say 72 million bullets a year. Let's just make it an easy number. 75 million bullets a year. 75 million bullets per year for a war, the Iraq War. And let's just say that war went on for 4 years, and you get to 300 million bullets. So 300 million bullets over the course of a 4-year Iraq War. Why is Homeland Security buying 1.6 billion bullets? This is enough to keep the war going for 25 years. Who's the enemy? Is it us? We've got Ukraine missing weapons. They just can't find them. If you're looking for a birthday gift for that hard to shop for man in your life, have you considered a shoulder fired TOW missile that you can go get on the black market? That's the gift that keeps on giving all year round, Clark. We left $85 billion worth of gear in Afghanistan. Why? Did we leave it there, or did we just say we left it there? I mean, I'm of the opinion that we left it there because we're so incompetent we didn't think things through to get it out there. But what if we didn't just leave all of it there? What if some of it went around the back door and came back to us? What if some of it came up through the southern border? We've got FTX using Ukraine to launder crypto money for weapons. We've got missing gear all over the place. We've got $1 trillion military budget. We're building bombs to send to Ukraine. We hear that we're out of them. We don't really have them. We've left our southern flank wide open. We've pre-positioned our assets all over the world. We haven't brought the troops home that are stationed in our bases in South Korea or Germany and put them along the southern border, which is what you would do if you were trying to stop an invasion coming across the southern border. You might use your military that's sitting around doing nothing elsewhere. Why don't you bring them home and put them to, if for no other reason, just send the message. Just have them set up and do nothing here. I shouldn't say doing nothing in Germany, but they're not fighting wars in Germany. They could. I would like to think that they could do whatever they're doing in Germany just as easily in El Paso, Texas, and send the message that, the military's in El Paso now, and have them sitting up there on the top of the hills when everyone's coming across and they're going to climb the fence, and you look up there and you see, 17,000 United States Marines up there with guns. All of a sudden it's like, I don't think we're coming. But that hasn't happened. All of us are scratching our heads going, why? Why hasn't it happened? Because they don't want it to happen. Because there is a plan. There's something much larger going on. Statista. 60% of Americans do not trust their government. Only 60%? Who are the 40% that do? Who are those dum-dums? Look, man, I wish I wasn't coming to this conclusion. But when I see all of these groups, they're ready to destabilize. And I see the climate, the pressure cooker of the American experience, everything is getting worse. Everything is getting harder. Everything's getting more expensive. Nothing makes sense. The president can't speak. Vice president is on benzos and is so dumb that it's hard to listen to her. Alexander Mayorkas, the Department of Homeland Security, is saying everything at the border is fine. There is no crisis. There's 7 million. There's 50,000 people a week coming across the southern border. That's not a crisis. So they're telling you not to believe your lying eyes. Boy, I just keep seeing similarity. The 1920s to 2020s. Where are we? Maybe just because the shooting hasn't started yet. I'm not sure, but if I didn't know any better, I'd say that the American brown shirts are being assembled right now, piece by piece. But what do I know? I'm just a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. Hey, if you like this episode, you can take the additional step right now of sharing it with your friends and family. You can go to my new website, macroaggressions.io. You can follow me on Twitter @macroaggressions. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you again soon.